The next speaker is a business person, entrepreneur, but what makes him really stand out, that he's actually got a command over English, Urdu, and French, and can easily switch and ease amongst them. What's more, he also understands Farsi and has a working knowledge of Russian, so we've got like a real linguist here. In addition to that, he's actually scaled a few hills in his life. One small scale is Mount Kilimanjaro, and in February, he's going to be heading to Thailand to conquer another peak. So for someone who aspires to scale peaks, business hurdles are just a small hill to climb. Please give a warm welcome to Asif Zaidi.
Your Excellency, the High Commissioner of Pakistan to Canada, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, and above all, dear entrepreneurs, good afternoon and assalamu alaikum. Now, Jia, you introduced me, but you forgot my father tongue, which is Jangli. That's a variant of Punjabi. And if I don't say it, I will be hard put to meet my father in the next life, because he was a judge and ICS officer. After he retired, he became a lawyer, but at home he remained a judge. So that was... So ladies and gentlemen, it warms my heart to be among so many entrepreneurs, so many people who talk the language of business, so many people who understand the dynamics of market, industry, and how to do good by humanity. Before I start, I was having a discussion because we solicited votes for entrepreneurs. And at least a couple of people said that AD should not have been there. AD should have been very much there. The understanding of an entrepreneur that has distilled from my lifetime of study and observation is this. An entrepreneur has three things. They are willing to take risk. The single most important characteristic of an entrepreneur is this: they have more ideas than they have money. And third, they do good by humanity. And AD fills all three of them, and so many others. So I'm pleased to be here, and given the short notice, I was not able to undertake an exercise in borrowing ideas. Last night when I sat down and thought what I will say here today, I soon realized that I cannot say anything earth-shattering that only myself or Aristotle would have known before I revealed it to you. So what do? I'll speak plainly from the heart. What does my heart tell me? My heart tells me that I am talking to the heroes of the world. Now, I am not indulging you into exaggeration, because I have to live among you, and I will never say an untruth. Over the next 5-10 minutes, we will see what I mean. The world is full of people, intelligent people, who sit in their bedrooms or their studies, and they have great ideas. They sit alone in their home and they have wonderful ideas. Some of them even write books thinking that will change the world. Now, I have bad news for anyone, including myself, who has written a book. Books don't change the world. The world changes when people come together and form institutions to drive change. The world changes at micro level when we have people like Open, like TCF, like Akhwat, who come together and drive change. At a macro level, if you look at the religions, ideologies, nation states, or organizations, those that have thrived are those which are either underpinned by fabulous institutions or have turned into institutions themselves. The world changes when the lovely ideas that we have become powerful. Now, who empowers those ideas? The people on the left might think that the governments empower those ideas. Probably. People on the right might think that the scientists and the creators empower those ideas. Definitely. But more than anyone else, entrepreneurs empower those ideas. Entrepreneurs make those ideas powerful. And again, I'm not extolling entrepreneurism. Entrepreneurism does not need propagandists or apologists. You have monuments to the government, to political parties, to organizations. But if you're looking for the monument to entrepreneurism, look around yourself. Look at the world you live in. The world we live in is a testimony to entrepreneurism. Look around and ponder the astonishing things that people like yourselves, entrepreneurs with ideas, have done over the last 2 centuries, and in this one which is still downloading. Look at the health, the transport, the communication, the wealth, the food. What you have today, no king could have imagined 100 years ago. So, of course, scientists change the world, but what do entrepreneurs do? I ask you, who turns the luxuries and fantasies that people imagine of into low-priced everyday items that are available on the next door store? The entrepreneurs do it. In 1,500 years of absolute monarchy, slavery and feudalism up to the advent of 19th century, humanity's average income, average real income grew by only 60%. In 200 years, since 1820, humanity's average income, sapiens' average real income, has grown by 1,200%, which is 12 times. How has that happened? And that has come with more than 7-fold increase in the population and in improvement in every qualitative indicator of life, which is health, longevity, gender equality, human rights, you name it. So how has that happened? Do you know that a child born today has a greater probability of reaching the retirement age than a child born 200 years ago had of reaching their first birthday? That is not a joke. That would not have been possible without you. You are a part of a tribe that has made it possible. That has happened because of people like you who have new ideas, who imagine things, and then work hard to create those things. They travel intellectual miles to create those things. To push the point a little further, let's take the example of fastest growing economies in the world. So let's take, for example, India, China, Bangladesh, and Vietnam. What is powering the wonderful journey of these countries? Their governments? No, they are entrepreneurs. People like you who work, who do their own business or work for businesses. Every minute I speak here, 5 children in those 4 countries alone make the transition from drudgery on farms or in factories to education in schools. That's why TCF, Akhwat, they are so important. Every minute I speak here, our life expectancy is increasing by 14 seconds. And that's why I'm not about to shut up. So, I'm sure nobody in this room has any doubt that creators and entrepreneurs will do with the new breakthroughs in biotechnics, in genetics, in life sciences, in artificial intelligence that will surprise us, even the younger people, as much as internet or a smartphone would have surprised our forefathers. My grandfather, he would have been astonished. What is this? Gee. So, this is just to underline that why I feel this occasion is so important, and why it is so important, and why open is a model of volunteerism and entrepreneurism blended into one. Now, let's talk about some of the lessons that I have learned in life to make your attention and time worthwhile. I have had the good fortune of delving deep into hundreds of businesses and meeting hundreds of successful business people and entrepreneurs in a varied career in learning as a banker, as a writer, as an advisor, and as a traveler, and as a preceptor also. I taught at a university. So last night I sat down and I thought, what are some of the things that were common in some of the entrepreneurs I've seen? I've seen a lot of them. Some of them I would not have had the opportunity but for my previous employer. And I really thought hard. I came up with a list of about, it was a long list. So then I shortened it to the list, to the characteristics that were common among all of them. And then I reduced them to 10 so that we can have a meaningful discussion and we can all go home on time. So this is... So that's what we'll talk about, 10 traits of successful entrepreneurs and what we learn from that. The first trait that I have seen is, I'm not saying passion. I'm not using buzzwords, catchphrases here. I'm saying straight passion to execute, not passion to cut ribbons, reap glory, have interviews, facing press on the quarterly meetings. No, passion to execute. Every successful business person I have seen, they have enjoyed the nitty-gritties of the business that they have made big. Nothing was beneath them in the business that they were doing. It is like a good general is able to fight in the trenches. There is no hands-off business. You can have other hands-off professions, but there's no hands-off business. So whatever business you are in, ask yourself, how badly do I want it? Am I ready to do whatever it takes? We talked about AD and AD did the minutest of things, which I or you probably would not do. And we talked about having ideas. Having idea is important, but having idea is just the beginning. Execution is everything. So have passion for execution. Second thing that I have seen, all the great entrepreneurs, from Mittal to some I have met like Mittal, but some others like Steve Jobs or others to the level we meet every day, they don't sell or push their products or services. They look to solve problems. Now you might ask, how do we solve problems? They do it by understanding the wants of their customers instead of their needs. Once they understand the wants of their customers, they use it to upgrade their needs. Now, want and need might sound similar, but let me elaborate with an example. To make the distinction, let's take the example of Netflix. So when Netflix started, they grew very fast with their model of eliciting a subscription from the customer and mailing them the DVDs. You remember that. So they were able to dominate the entertainment space. But soon, Netflix realized that there was a congenital long-term flaw in their model. It was that there were no barriers to entry, and any major player entering their market space would have usurped their market share. And that actually did happen when Blockbuster entered the market. So if Netflix had confined its analysis to customers' needs, what would have they discovered? That customers want lower subscription rates, they want faster deliveries through Netflix using FedEx, or they wanted a wider variety of movies. Instead of doing that, Netflix focused on the wants of their customers. And what they wanted was a quicker and more convenient access to a wide variety of content for their entertainment. So Netflix then decided to address the wants of their customers, and this is how they upgraded their needs. They came up with a solution which their customers knew but could not think of. And they made it possible and they made it easy. Solution, it was an on-demand downstreaming of content anytime to any internet-connected device. We all know about Henry Ford, who transformed the need for faster horses into automobiles because he knew what customers wanted was a faster and more reliable means of transportation. We have, in our lifetime, recently seen examples of Steve Jobs, and there are a plethora of examples that come to my mind, but we have to move on. Now again, this is not a cliche. Think big, big, and these days we get too many lectures on thinking big, from where, but what I mean from this is that the successful entrepreneurs, business people that I have seen who have created something, looked at opportunities and not problems. Again, I will illustrate this with an example. Let's go back to 1915 to the jungles of Central America, where a conflict between two American companies came to a head. Both the companies wanted to buy the same piece of land, a 5,000 acres plantation. So what was the issue? The issue was that two locals claimed to have the title to the same plantation, the same piece of land, and in the wilderness on the border between Honduras and Guatemala, there was no way for any of the companies to determine who the rightful owner was. Now the two companies involved were, one was United Fruit, which is a legendary company, one of the biggest corporations in the history of United States. And the second was an upstart company owned by a 37-year-old Moldovan immigrant to the US whose name was Sam Zimare. So United Fruits did what the great companies do. They assembled an accomplished team of lawyers and sent them to Central America. They reached there to pore over every paper and scrap of document in the country to determine who the rightful owner was. They were willing to spend whatever it cost to win. Money, time, and resources were not a problem. poor Zimmeré was outmatched. He was outmatched because, you know why? He was a small-time player. He could not play their game, so he didn't. What do you think Zimmeré did? Any idea? Zimmeré went and met with both the purported owners of the land and bought it from both of them. So he paid twice, but it was very much worth it. So while United Fruits was flexing muscles, this small guy, and that was the beginning of this legendary businessman. And for your interest, he later on went on to become the president of United Fruit. Now stay focused. Sam talked about it. Every businessman who has succeeded knows that what does focus mean? Staying focused, what does it mean?
Persevering towards the objective.
Yeah, very good. Focus, yeah. Focus means simple, ignoring all the things you could do. You could do a lot of things. It means ignoring all the things you could do to focus on what you should do. And that is truer in business than in any other walk of life. When businesses expand, you have seen it, 2 houses in Hamilton and 5 in Barrie and 2 here. No, you will never become big. You have to focus. You don't have to spread yourself thin. So define your core focus, whether you have a law firm, like whether you have an accounting firm or you have a manufacturing plant. Define your core focus, stick to it, and employ all your resources and time to excelling at it. That is the secret of success for an entrepreneur. Second thing I mean from focus is this. One of the greatest things that I ever said was said by Churchill, but not that I am an admirer of him, but the thing is great. He said that I never let what I cannot control interfere with what I can control. And every successful entrepreneur knows it. Every top athlete knows it. Ben Stokes knows it. You cannot control the situations. Conditions are given. You focus on what you can do.